Hi, and welcome again to another episode of The Really Show. I'm your host, Aaron Ross. Today's show, Victoria Woodhull, a true American original, a woman ahead of her time. If you like our show, we would really love it if you would subscribe. During her life, Victoria Woodhull was everything from a traveling clairvoyant, radical newspaper publisher, socialist feminist, successful entrepreneur, and even candidate for president of the United States. Victoria Woodhull was more than happy to punch social norms of the era in the face. Born Victoria, California, Claflin in 1838, she was the seventh of 10 children, 6 of the siblings surviving into adulthood. Her mother was a spiritualist and a fortune teller. Her father, an abusive drunkard who was literally a crooked snake oil salesman. While still children, Victoria and her younger sister, Tennessee Tenny, were put to work by their father in his painted wagon. We all called her Tenny, come on, anybody who knew her. They were made to perform as faith healers and clairvoyants who could speak to the dead. Living in abject poverty, their childhoods were unpredictable and nomadic. Around the age of 15, Victoria's parents pushed her into marriage. She married a doctor, Canning Woodhull, 13 years her senior. Unfortunately, she soon learned that he was a boozing womanizer. Victoria had 2 children with the good doctor. Canning was such a piece of work that he didn't even provide for his family. Victoria had to get work in order to support the kids and herself. She couldn't take it anymore and divorced him. She bravely did this in an era where divorce was socially unacceptable and could tarnish one's reputation. She raised her children as a single mother, curiously keeping the Woodhull surname. Around 1866, she remarried, this time to Colonel James Blood, a Civil War hero and fervent spiritualist. Spiritualism was a huge movement in the 19th century with as many as maybe 10 million followers. Colonel Blood had radical social and political beliefs which were a big influence on Victoria. This helped push her to pursue her interest in women's rights and where she learned about being a free lover. Blood encouraged Victoria and her sister Tenny to move to New York. After arriving in New York City, the sisters worked as spiritualists and had their sights set on meeting and charming Cornelius Vanderbilt, the wealthy railroad tycoon. I'm on it. They worked as mediums for him so he could communicate with the spirits of his dead relatives. With Vanderbilt's encouragement, Victoria and Tenny got involved with the stock market and did quite well. He backed them in creating the very first woman-owned brokerage firm on Wall Street, Woodhull, Claflin and Company. Around 1870, they used the money from this venture to begin publishing a weekly journal, Woodhull and Claflin's Weekly. It was a radical newspaper, publishing articles which range from social issues of the day to legalized prostitution, short skirts, vegetarianism. It was also the first publication in the United States to publish Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto in English. The journal also exposed many business frauds. And if she wasn't ambitious enough, on April 2nd, 1870, Victoria Woodhull announced her candidacy for the presidency in the New York Herald. Double boom! Double boom, boom, boom! Soon after, Victoria was the first woman to testify before a congressional committee, addressing the House Judiciary Committee on Women's Suffrage. She argued that the 14th and 15th Amendments already guaranteed a woman's right to vote. She asked for Congress to pass an act guaranteeing those rights. Present for the testimony was Susan B. Anthony. She was so taken with Woodhull's argument that she asked her to repeat it later that afternoon at the National Women's Suffrage Association Convention. Woodhull would go on to be nominated to run for President of the United States by the newly formed Equal Rights Party on May 10, 1872 at the Apollo Hall in New York City. Frederick Douglass was nominated for Vice President, although he did not attend the convention and never acknowledged the nomination. It's all about that bass, Victoria campaigned for free love. She declared, and I quote, "an inalienable, constitutional, and natural right to love whom I may, to love as long or as short a period as I can, to change that love every day if I please." Say it, girl. She advocated giving women the right to marry, divorce, and bear children without government interference. She spoke publicly against the government being composed entirely of men, and she advocated legalized prostitution. In the 1872 election, Victoria was running against incumbent Republican Ulysses S. Grant and Democrat Horace Greeley. Now, her campaign was cut short when Victoria, Tenny, and Colonel Blood were charged with publishing an obscene newspaper. This incident stemmed from an article in the Woodhull and Claflin's Weekly, published 3 days before the election. You see, the sisters published details of an alleged adultery committed by revered Brooklyn minister Henry Ward Beecher. Beecher had reprimanded Victoria's views on sex and marriage from the pulpit. Victoria would explain that she was not objecting to Beecher's adultery, but to his hypocrisy. Quote, "I am not charging him with immorality. I applaud his enlightened views. I am charging him with hypocrisy." So the sisters were taken to Ludlow Street Jail, where they remained incarcerated on Election Day. Of course, even if they had been freed on Election Day, they wouldn't have been able to vote for Victoria because women didn't have that right. Now, Victoria received no electoral votes, but there is no record of how many popular votes she may have received. The sisters and Colonel Blood were acquitted on a technicality 6 months later. Due to this incident, she became a target of harsh criticism over her exposé on Beecher. And in 1876, she shut down the paper, divorced Colonel Blood, and retreated to England. There, she married for a third time to John Biddulph Martin, Oxford-educated son and heir to a wealthy English banking family. Hi. After Martin died in 1901, Victoria, who was one of the first women in England to own an automobile, lived the life of a wealthy widow. Victoria Woodhull died in England at age 88 on June 9th, 1927. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comments section. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time, right here. I got it.